Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
Well, good morning, everyone. It is 5:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are making sense of the news. Happy Friday to everyone. You're listening to O'Connor and Company. I'm Andrew Langer, in for Larry O'Connor alongside Patrice Onwuka. Hello, Patrice.
Good morning, Andrew. Happy Friday.
Thank you. I eagerly anticipate that whenever you and I are working together. Listen, we got a jam-packed show, as we always do here on O'Connor and Company. We got Mary Catherine Ham joining us today. I'm so excited. I'm thrilled. I always love talking to MK. She's fantastic.
She's amazing.
James Rosen's going to join us from Newsmax to talk about the Harris Walz interview. Nick Minock from WJLA, we're going to talk to him about this, once again, growing story about what's going on in Fairfax County with ICE and the ICE policy with the Fairfax County Sheriff. Joe Concha is joining us as well to talk about the Harris Walz interview. And Mike Van Meter, who is running against Jerry Connolly for Congress, is joining us in the 8 a.m. hour to talk about the continuing to unfold story of what's going on with Arlington and Donald Trump visiting Arlington on Monday. Now the U.S. Army waiting in. All kinds of stuff you're going to want to listen to today. So we waited. How long did we wait? How many days did we wait, Patrice, for this interview? With 38
oh, my
days?
Goodness.
I mean,
37, 38, something like
38
too
days.
many is the answer. Too many.
Almost 6 weeks we waited for this interview. And the only thing that I learned is that Kamala Harris is under the impression that she said she was in favor of fracking in 2020. That's the only thing I learned that was new in all of this. But it was a strange interview. Setting aside the fact that we learned late yesterday that it was only 18 minutes long, which is about the same length as Arlo Guthrie's Alice's Restaurant. But it was a strange interview, wasn't it?
It was odd. My overall takeaway is that the clips you saw, the clips that they released early, pretty much sums up the entire interview. Softball, she still couldn't hit the softballs that were underhand tossed to her from 3 feet away, and everything about the interview was awkward. It did nothing to allay anybody's fears about her competency or her ability to lead.
You know, it's funny. Before everybody was enthusiastic about Kamala Harris, right? You know, we're all in for Kamala the Mamala. The Daily Show had done a series of. I don't know if you ever watched the HBO show Veep. Do you ever watch the HBO show Veep?
No, I've seen a couple of clips, but I never watched it.
To me, it's the most accurate portrayal of how Washington D.C. works as any show, because there is the dark humor there. And they would play these clips. Somebody had come up with the Daily Show, come up with a juxtaposition of Kamala's word salad versus Julia Louis-Dreyfus's Selena Meyer's word salads, and we got more of that word salad. And let me just start with this. We're gonna go through this stuff slowly because, again, there's 18 minutes of interview. We could spend 18 hours talking about it. But the question opens, or the interview opens. Actually, before we play the clip, let's set the stage.
Okay.
Because, again, it looked like they had to go and quickly find an office somewhere, and someone said, okay, you know something? Yes. We've got a spare back office you can use. You know, Jimmy quit last week from accounting, and we're going to go and you can use his back office.
Throw a table in there.
It's exactly right. I mean, it looked odd, didn't it?
Dark lighting,
yes.
High table that cut her off and made her look like a midget compared to her running mate, Tim Walz, and frankly, compared to Dana Bash, who was towering above them all. I don't know. I've seen her in person. I don't know how that happened, but it looked like the kitty in the center of mom and dad having a serious discussion. That's the setup.
It's funny. One of the things that talk show hosts used to do many, many years ago is they would make sure that their desks were raised on a platform platform so they would appear over their guests. Andy Kaufman, the performance artist and comedian, when he was skewering that, parodying that, he had his desk so high that it was looking down. It was like a judge looking down on people. But that's right. I mean, it was dark. It looked like it was very hastily put together. I mean, it looked to me that like when they were negotiating this interview, that they said, okay, we'll find a place and some staffer will get it set up. And they rushed in there with their lights, right? You know, it was very harshly
but still not
lit.
good enough. Yes,
right.
exactly.
And just all very, very temporary. And that was the other thing that, you know, somebody else pointed out to me, which is, you know, you do something like this, you would almost think that they would do it outside somewhere, that they would sort of sit, and it would be, you know, it would be a much more casual looking interview. But it wasn't. Now let's start here. So it opens up. It opens up with this question about day one, and I looked at this, and my immediate reaction was, and I don't want to say it. I invoked the name of the Son of God. You know, when I said this in wonderment, it's like, oh my goodness. This is bad. Let's play cut number 1, please.
The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and in an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do?
All right. So Dana Bass asked the question again. Patrice, it's 2024. Who was president in 2014?
Who was president? That was Obama, right?
That was Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
So the last decade, things have changed. And Kamala Harris goes and throws Barack Obama under the bus. I mean, it was. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Let me hear what you have to say about this.
I mean, it was so interesting because it was interesting. She introduced a new time frame. So when she recognized that the decade, yikes, that means I'm pulling in our guy. Then she started saying, well, I'm talking about an era. So you probably hear a lot about era. That is probably the new buzzword. Folks listen to the weekend shows talking about, well, no. This is not about Joe Biden and Obama. This is about an era. And so that era could span, obviously, she's saying 10 years. It could span even further than that. Right. But again, her answer for day one, supporting the middle class, well, everything that she has done since she's been vice president has been to undermine the middle class, and she doesn't have a good answer for that.
It is. There's something very specific. If you're running for president, there's something you want to do on day one. You know, every president does this. We're gonna get to more of this. We'll continue in just a moment, but first, it is 5:15 a.m.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
So, Patrice, she doesn't answer the question about day one. Dana Bash has to push her on this, and we still don't get an answer. I mean, and that really set the tone for the interview,
it
didn't
did.
it? I mean, it goes on. We get to this point where Dana Bash, of course, then has to ask the question about flip-flopping. Let's go here. Let's hear what she had to say. Let's go ahead and play cut number 2, please.
How should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here, in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed.
But has it? I mean, that's
yes,
the thing
of
that
course
gets
it
me.
has.
I mean, it's one of those things where if you say that something is a moral and ethical issue, like she did on immigration, I know that's not the Green New Deal, but you say that and then you change your stance on immigration. Well, doesn't that mean that your values have changed? I mean, but again, word salad here on this, Patrice. What do you make of this?
Yeah, well, so I'll start with the question too. Dana Bash actually gave her a multiple choice question.
She
there.
did, yes.
She literally said, okay, here are a couple answers you can choose from, whichever one you like better. What reporter who's serious about getting the clip of the day or the hard truth would give you multiple choice so that you actually don't go down the path that you really should have wanted to go down? That said, leave it to Kamala Harris to mess up the multiple choice question and then go in at this, my values have not changed, which is one of the clips we saw released earlier. And that sets her up because obviously your values have changed. It's one thing to say, you know what, I've gotten some information and now, I think things through differently. No, she's clinging. She's saying her values that, she's fine with illegal immigrants coming into this country. It's still the same. Otherwise, the wall. I would support a wall, but believe people's actions, not their words. And I think that's the value there.
Wait a minute. You just hit upon a super important point last night, that in this 18-minute, farrago of nonsense, I haven't used that word in a long time. I love that word, farrago. But in this, there was no question about, hey, by the way, you said that the wall was a vanity project that wouldn't work. Hey, what gives with you putting images of Trump's wall in your campaign commercials? I mean, that's a question that's on my mind. I think it's on a question that's on a lot of people's minds.
Andrew,
sorry,
listen,
go ahead.
There were so many questions that I think were on all of our minds that were never asked
Top of mind,
last
yes.
night.
Yes.
I mean, listen, it's hilarious that CNN filled an entire hour with these already prepared, beautifully edited and beautifully delivered, packaged, clips about Harris, making the warm, fuzzy feelings about her personal story. All of that has already been pre-done.
Right.
And then you could tell, then they're like, oh, we've got this on the shelf. We're ready to roll. And then they just slapped it in between these different segments that look like they were filming in the back room of the office. So it all of it really speaks to the fact that this was an embarrassment on the part of CNN and Dana Bash. And frankly, Kamala Harris, she performed as poorly as I think we expected, maybe a little bit worse. But again, it's not going to gain her points. If anything, it probably lost her points.
I think so, and of course, right, and we'll get into this later on too, and I'm sure we'll talk about it with Mary Catherine Ham when she joins us in the next hour. This issue of the press fawning all over this, before and after, as this all was going on. But something, if we had a parody industry worth a darn in this country, and by what I mean is, we've got folks who do satire that's out there. I know I keep talking about this, but you again, you hit the nail on the head. If Saturday Night Live were really legitimately skewering the powerful, speaking truth to power, right, they would do a parody in which you have the set of The Office, and you have them coming in, and you've got someone playing Tim Walz and Kamala Harris who are talking about these questions here. I don't want to talk about it yet. We're gonna open this up. This issue of the fracking. We'll talk about this. But she made a whopper of a lie last night that I don't think anybody can prove. Do you think, Kamala, if you missed it, Kamala Harris claimed last night that it wasn't she didn't just change her stance on fracking. She changed her stance on fracking during the 2020 election cycle. Patrice, we're gonna have to get into this because to me this is easily proven. Just go back and look at the debates. You can't go back and look at the debates. Listen, we've got so much more to get to here on O'Connor and Company on WCB. I'm sorry if I'm filibustering here, Patrice. But right now it is 5:24 on W. I mean, I get this, right? You know, you want politicians to learn over time, Patrice. You know, and you know, moderate is not the right word, but you know, have their positions get influenced by what it is that they learn. Evolve. I like that. Yes. Good word. Almost as good as Farrago. No, evolve is a good word. But you know, this issue of values and how you view things. I mean, she said her values don't change, but it's very clear something changes, and obviously, I guess here's what the thing that I keep coming back to, which is this issue of you felt that you were ready to run for president with these positions before, and yet now you're running for president again, and your positions have changed. Obviously, it's political, and your values are political. Your thoughts here, Patrice?
Here's the thing about claiming your values haven't changed. Maybe her values haven't changed, but her tactics have. And so a tactical change is to say, well, no, I'm not going to ban fracking. I'm going to support the border wall bill or build the wall, so to speak. You know, all these things that she knows Americans are irate about with the Biden administration. So in her heart, she can say, well, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to placate the voters to get back into office. And then I'll do whatever I want. And that's what I tweeted last night. She's going to say what she needs to say to fool people who actually believe the lies. And then when she gets in office, if she gets there, God forbid, then she will do exactly the opposite of everything she said she would do. And then 4 years later, she will hope people will forget, and then she will lie again, and then get it. That's how this is. That she's a consummate politician. She maybe her values really haven't changed, but her tactics have.
You know, that's an excellent point, and it's something to explore here, right? Because she can come out and say, and we're going to play the clip after the news, this issue of banning fracking. But you and I are both policy people. This is why I love sitting down with you to talk about these things.
It's fun when you're in.
The same place. But it's like the gas stove ban, right? Remember, they came in and they said that they weren't going to ban gas stoves. Did you hear the Mrs. Frazzle thing? No, we just want to put labels on things, the very patronizing lady. But you and I both know that what they'll do is they'll just place so many restrictions on it that it'll be a de facto ban. They can say, oh, no, we didn't ban it. We're still allowing it. Like, we're still allowing drilling on public lands and fracking on public lands. But you know, we're going to only allow you to frack in places that we know that there's no gas, or we're only going to allow you to drill in places we know there's no oil. So it becomes a de facto ban, doesn't it?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so, we'll see how she plays this out, but I agree with you on that.
No, listen, we are going to continue with this analysis of what happened yesterday. 18 minutes. As I said, we can spend 18 hours. And joining us, by the way, on the show today, you're going to want to stay tuned. Mary Catherine Ham, Joe Concha, a bunch of folks joining us today to talk about this interview last night. I'm Andrew Langer. That's Patrice Onwuka. It is 5:30. This is WMAL.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington. A Cumulus media station.
Making sense of the news.
News Talk 105.9.
News now
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 5:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. Making sense of the news. A good Friday morning to one and all. We've got, oh my goodness, I'm so excited for the show today. Mary Catherine Ham joining us to talk about the Harris Walz interview. James Rosen from Newsmax as well. Joe Concha Also, to talk about this just chaotic interview last night. Nick Minock from WJLA is going to join us to talk about Fairfax County, what's happening there, and Mike Van Meter, who's running against Jerry Connolly for Congress, to talk about Connolly's comments regarding Trump and Arlington Gate. I'm Andrew Langer here on O'Connor and Company this morning, in for Larry O'Connor, along with Patrice Onwuka. Hello, Patrice. Happy Friday.
Fry-yay, Andrew. Happy Fry-yay.
You know, we're not going to talk about it now, but you know who apparently used to say happy Fry-yay, at least that's what she claims she did, is Kamala Harris, when she may or may not have been working for McDonald's. I don't know. We can't. Frygate, we're calling it here at WMAL. But listen, so we waited a very long time. Longer than we've ever waited for an interview with a major party candidate, and we got it last night, and it didn't tell us anything except apparently Kamala Harris believes that she flip-flopped her position all the way back in 2020. In fact, we're going to jump down here real quick. Let's hear cut 3A, please, about Kamala Harris talking about this. Let's play cut 3A, please.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking.
Really? This was news to me.
When did that happen?
Right. I mean, that's part of the longer clip here. But Patrice, were you as surprised as I was at this?
I was shocked because we've always known that Kamala Harris supports fracking. I'm trying to let's see if we can find some intrepid reporters or Twitter followers out there can go back and find the clip of her saying that, because I think we need to see the truth.
Yeah, right. Listen, it's not as though, so many of these moments, every moment you've been on stage has been filmed and recorded for posterity. One would think that if there was that Kamala's opponents back in 2020 would have turned around and said, well, wait a minute, here Kamala Harris is a dangerous moderate. She claims to be a progressive, but she wants to have fracking. Let's hear the whole clip here so you all can hear it in context. Let's play cut number 3, please.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
See, this is fascinating to me, because there's no place to go for that. That is, I mean, obviously, listen, we know how the policy gets done, as we were saying before. They could do a de facto ban. But in terms of saying, I said it in 2020, there's no wiggle room there. And we can go back, and there is going to be some intrepid reporter out there. Let's go ahead and listen to what she did say at a town hall in 2020. Let's play cut 4.
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yeah.
Is that the same verbiage? Go ahead, Patrice. I'm sorry.
So while you were talking, I used the Wayback Machine called Google to go back to the 2020 vice presidential debate. Now, I think she's intentionally going back to the 2020 debate. And what she said, and if you simply just search the transcript for fracking, she said Joe Biden will not ban fracking. She never said that she would. So I guess she's playing footsie here, semantics, where she's saying, well, I said I will not ban fracking. That's what she said last night. In reality, during that debate, which is the only debate she had in 2020, right? Because she dropped out in 2019. So in 2020, the only debate she had was against Vice President Pence at the time. And her answer was, Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. That is a fact.
Here,
So
hold on for a
she's
second.
playing footsie here. She's playing footsie.
I want to go back because she used the same. It's really interesting. Now that we sort of get her verbal crutches here, the more you hear her talk. Michael, go ahead and let's play cut number 3 real quick, and then I'm going to play I'm going to play the flashback again. Here's the question and answer, cut 3 on banning fracking from last night.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, in a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes.
Oh, I see.
So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
For me, that's on me because I'm sitting there listening to it, and it was Dana Bash repeating the no question. It wasn't Kamala Harris didn't say yesterday there was no question for her. I literally thought maybe that had become her crutch here. But that's a really interesting, weird sort of pivot here. Again, sort of the cleaving of Kamala. You can't see it, folks, but I'm cleaving my fingers together for Patrice here.
Yeah.
The cleaving of Joe Biden. Now she really is trying to tie herself to this, isn't she? So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Patrice.
Well, that makes it all the more difficult for her then to untether herself from Bidenomics, to untether herself from inflation that took off under Biden, to untether herself from the Biden immigration policy, his day one priorities, which were to open the southern border, to undo everything that President Trump had done. So she's playing footsie here, but if people think a little bit, they'll see through the lies.
We're going to talk more about the economy in a moment of what she had to say, but right now it's 5:44 here on WMAL.
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020 that I would not ban fracking.
She does not want to ban fracking. She just is going to make it really, really hard for her to do it. We're not going to ban drilling on public lands, Patrice. We heard this before. Mm-hmm. They said this before. We've opened up all of this public land to drilling, and yet nobody's drilling on these public lands. I mean, I wonder why. I wonder why. Yes, that's exactly it. So we got into this, and you and I both know that these kitchen table issues are important to the voters out there. They talked about the economy. Let's
which is the number one issue for voters right now, by the way.
That's exactly it. So let's go here because she didn't quite answer the question on what she'd do on day one. Dana Bash tried to do at least something of a journalist's job in pushing her on this. Let's hear what she had to say. Let's play cut number 5.
What would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
We're going to make it impossible for you to buy a car that actually works for your family, But we're gonna give you a tax credit so you can buy a car seat. I mean, that's essentially what she's saying, isn't it?
I was shaking my head when I just thought about what she said, because you know what? If the tax credit is...
Hold on, folks. Patrice was engaged in these paroxysms. She was just sort of shaking here.
I was shaking my head wildly, like, this is insane. If you've ever had a baby, you have to buy a car seat before you leave the hospital.
Right.
Otherwise, the hospital will not give you that child. The tax credit you don't get to take the tax credit until you file your taxes in the next year after the baby is born. So she like that for a parent who hears that and thinks about it, it's like, wait a minute. And by the way, folks, I've already written so much about the child tax credit, how it is a Republican idea. It has been expanded by Republicans, and Democrats have hijacked it, but warped it in a way to turn it into backdoor universal basic income. And that's what she wants. By the way, I'm trying to get a piece published on this today. There are so many things there. I just think that she heard opportunity economy. I'm pretty sure I've heard it in a lot of conservative circles. And another idea she has stolen and now is using. I had
lunch with a former Newt Gingrich staffer on Friday, this past Friday. So the day after the end of the DNC, he goes, "Yeah, I'm sitting here. I almost picked up the phone and called Newt and said, 'Hey, Kamala Harris is looking at your 1996 plans and is, it has gone from
copying and pasting.'"
Right, that's exactly it. I mean, it is amazing to me. I mean, listen, setting aside the interview last night, there is nothing original about what these folks are saying. I mean, obviously they are couching it in ways, or more to the point that deep down inside they don't believe what they're saying. We know that when Kamala Harris says opportunity economy, what she's really talking about is the equality of outcome issue. She's not talking, but the point is they're just stealing wholesale from everybody else. Tim Walz stealing things, Kamala Harris stealing things from her campaign. By the way, we haven't even heard from Tim Walz yet. Let's quickly here, because Dana Bash did ask him about day one, and this is a heck of an answer. Let's play cut 6.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the Vice President's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We did it in Minnesota. To have a federal partner in this, unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
I'm just so happy to be here, Patrice. I'm just honored she asked. I mean, you and I have even talked about this. When Kamala Harris said, when she selected Tim Walz, that they share the same values, she's absolutely right. And those values are Marxism, Maoism, whichever flavor of communism you want. Dana did ask her about the opportunity economy. This is a little long of a clip, but let's hear it. Let's play cut 7.
You call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability. One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. Literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it. Which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging.
I mean, listen, besides the fact that more people died under Joe Biden when Joe Biden came in office because of COVID than that, I mean, just the reinvention of history here. You're talking to folks about this,
astounding.
Patrice.
It's astounding. She glosses over inflation, how inflation took off under Joe Biden. Folks, one easy stat, 1.4%. That was the inflation rate when President Trump took office. That's all you need to know. And inflation took off under her and Joe Biden's administration, and it may have come down. But by the way, prices are just not rising as fast. That doesn't mean the prices are back to their 2021 levels, and that's why people rightly recognize that things are out of whack. But these Democrats, they just like to pretend, oh, we'd had nothing to do with that.
Yes.
And so people will forget.
Mismanagement.
And so people will forget. Oh, goodness.
Tim Walz keeps his state locked down as long as any other governor, and yet it's Donald Trump's mismanagement that was the problem here. It's 5:50.
Donald Trump's fault.
Exactly. That's exactly right. It's 5:54 here on WMA, on O'Connor and Company on WMA.